Do you want to understand how you can save and pay less tax? Do you want to be able to live the life that you dream of when you get to retirement? If you've answered yes to any of those questions, this last Thursday of the month is a session you do not want to miss. We're going to be unpacking several complex calculations, thoughts, ideas. The idea is that we start a conversation, we have some calls to action, and we put in place some points. Tax season is open. You may have seen some of this information on social media. If you're following us, Candid 2020 on Instagram or on Facebook, you'll have seen that we've said start the year strong. We have said get some financial goals into place. Go and listen to those podcasts. They're quite interesting. But tonight, we're going to be looking at retirement savings. There are so many people who wish they had started younger. The clients that I speak to, I always say, what would you have done differently? And they've all said if they had known the importance and the benefit of compound interest and compound growth, they'd have started younger. Tax season, January and February, astute tax planners will start to look at their numbers. They'll have a look at their payslips, their IRP5 that is in the process of being calculated and finalized, and they will have a look to see what does SARS allow in order for them to be able to pay less tax. What do I mean by that? The Income Tax Act tells us that we are able to reduce our tax payable by certain allowable deductions. And the one that we're going to look at today is contributions to a retirement or pension fund. Those are all fancy names for retirement savings. You have the opportunity as a taxpayer to contribute 27.5% of your pensionable salary. Imagine you are earning a salary of 10,000 Rand a month. Most people belonging to a pension or a provident fund through an employer will perhaps be contributing 1,500 Rand. SARS a few years ago increased the allowable deduction from 15 to 27.5%. And the reason for that was that they realized the crisis that the country is facing with people not saving enough for retirement. So they increased that allowable amount in order for people to be able to contribute more. Instead of paying tax on 10,000 Rand, that 1,500 is a deduction, and you're only paying tax on 8,500 Rand, which is dropping the pay as you earn that you're paying. If we increased our contribution to 2,750, you can appreciate that your tax payable to SARS is going to drop. And that is what we mean by saying your SARS are actually paying a part of your retirement savings. If this all sounds too complex, the idea and the thought is that you start to think about it, that you reach out to one of our team, to a certified financial planner, in order for them to explain it, bring it back into English, and get you to act and do something. Simply put, we would encourage each and every taxpayer to be contributing the maximum that they're allowed to, 27.5%, capped at 350,000 Rand per annum, into a retirement savings. I'd argue that, in fact, if you can afford to put more into your retirement savings, do that. Because although we have the cap of the 350,000 Rand at the end of the tax year, any allowable contributions that have not been considered for this tax year are carried over to your ultimate retirement date. So when you are cashing in your pension funds, your provident funds, your retirement annuities, any allowable deductions that have not been considered leading up to that point will be offset against any payments that are going to be made. This is extremely beneficial as you're getting later on in your life and your financial planning. Start with something, have a retirement savings in place, increase it on a regular basis, and stretch yourself. I can assure you that your future self will thank you for the sacrifice that you're making today. I personally have sat with our accountant and just had a look through the RP5s that are going to be coming out in a couple of weeks' time and said, what could we be contributing more to maximize the deduction? So I'm taking my cash flow from now, investing it in an investment that's going to grow, and the returns over the last year have been exponential, up to 16, 18%. It's not something that's going to happen year on and year in and year out. However, this past year has been really good in the markets. Funds that are invested in the markets are growing. And as a result, when it does come time for retirement, I'll have a bigger capital base in order for me to draw that income from there and hopefully live the life that I've been dreaming of in my retirement. When we look at your personal life plan, what we do is we understand what your needs and your requirements are. It's an incredibly powerful spreadsheet tool that we have created that gives you an indication of where you currently stand with your retirement savings. In other words, we look at your current age, we look at your proposed retirement age, and what income you're looking to derive at that point in time. Most people use a number of 65. We then calculate what the capital base should be by the time you reach age 65. And we tell you how you would be able to get there by contributing a certain amount on a monthly basis, assuming growth, because we will have growth in the market. When we put the money into our investment, it is going to be growing and appreciating dependent on the underlying funds. I don't want to get it complicated. What I want you to do is realize that the money you're investing is going to grow until the time that we disinvest, and we'll then be able to draw an income on a monthly basis thereafter. So yes, maximize that amount that you can be putting in as much as you possibly can. Allow that to grow. On that personal financial plan, we will tell you what that capital base should be, what those monthly contributions could or should be. And sadly, we need to, in most cases, manage clients' expectations to say that 65 is not going to be a retirement age that you can consider because we don't have enough time to grow the capital. However, if we start young, and I always say, a 25-year-old starting out in the workforce, if they contributed 15% of their salary each and every month for the rest of their working career till age 65, the numbers speak for themselves that there will be sufficient capital at age 65 to draw your last salary for the rest of your life. However, it's important to remember that we increase it as salary increases come into play. We don't access any of the capital when we resign from jobs and move on to a new employer. We actually preserve all of those savings. We don't get tempted to access the funds available in the two-pot system. We keep the money separated, growing for retirement. I can assure you, the numbers speak for themselves. We have clients who have done that over the years. And when they get to retirement, it is very easy for us to plan and put in place solutions for them. So a 25-year-old starting out at 15%, increasing as their salaries increase, remaining funds constantly staying invested in the market, will have a very happy, successful retirement plan. But sadly, we don't start at 25. We don't increase it as we have increases. And we get tempted to use some of the funds when we're resigning from one employer and moving to another to perhaps buy a house or settle debt or renovate, or I've heard all of the stories. If we don't do that, we're going to have a happy retirement. If we are tempted along the way, sadly, we're going to need to be relying on other people to be looking after our retirement. So if you're 25 and you're listening to this, please reach out, make sure that you have a retirement savings of some form or another in place, and that you understand the magic of compound interest, the tax deductibility, and the need to actually get invested in the market and revisit it on an ongoing basis. If, however, You are 35 and you haven't started. Something is better than nothing. I hear so often people saying, I'll be able to afford it in 3 months' time. 3 months comes and goes so quickly. We all know that. And 3 months' time, nothing has happened and nothing has changed. If you start with something, even if it be the minimum premium that an insurer will allow, 850 in the Discovery case, 1,000 Rand. If we start with that investment and we commit to increasing it, you'll be surprised at how quickly that amount grows when you focus on it and you find the funds within your budget so that your future self will thank you for it. I keep talking about that future self, and I'd love to share the numbers that your future self wants to be able to live the lifestyle that you're dreaming of. When you know that number, you'll be surprised at how investments, savings becomes more logical, easier to understand, and people start to act on it. Cool. Once we've established that a savings plan must be in place, let's have a look at the solution, that vehicle that we're going to be using. Fees, performance, benefits are very critical in understanding how your solution is structured. Reach out to a financial advisor and ensure that the savings plan that you have in place, you understand fully. As you know from the Discovery Stable Candor 2020 solutions are all through the Discovery offering. Shared value is the fundamental base of the Discovery offering and the solutions that are implemented. What do I mean by the shared value proposition? We have, in this instance, the potential to protect your income earning capacity prior to retirement in the form of death, disability, severe illness, etc. And then we have the opportunity to save for retirement. Over the years, I'm astounded to see that typically investors, clients fall into one of two groups. A group that is never ever going to get to age 60. They believe they're going to die at a young age. The second group of people are people that are never ever going to die. And sadly, we don't know which group we belong to, and we are going to die at some point. So in my opinion, protecting risk is critical, but also having some savings plan for retirement is extremely, extremely important. Discovery give you the best of both worlds in the form of their Discovery Retirement Optimizer. A retirement annuity is typically an investment that gives you the opportunity to invest for a given time and protecting it in terms of legislation. The Discovery Retirement Optimizer is an investment of that nature. However, it dovetails your life, your risk policy. And what I mean by that is it gives you the opportunity to say, let's protect my income. In the event of death, disability, or severe illness, there is a potential payout. Our Vitality program in the background is saying and encouraging healthy lifestyle. If you are going to be living well and you're engaging on the Vitality program, you have the opportunity of getting premium paybacks on an annual or a 5-year or a 10-year period, depending on how you've structured your policy. What that does is it gives you the best of both worlds, protecting your income and your in the event for death, but also giving you cashbacks periodically. Now we can take those cashbacks that Discovery are offering you and invest those in your Discovery Retirement Optimizer. And if you do, terms and conditions applicable, you have the opportunity of doubling that by the time you reach age 65. I personally have seen that with some of my clients, and the value proposition that this offers is untouched by any other alternative investment in the market. I love the Discovery Retirement Optimizer. It's giving you the retirement planning as well as obviously linking it in with the life cover. There are many other benefits linked to this solution. Reach out, we'll explain that and go through it in more detail. I promise you it's a solution that you cannot afford to ignore. In addition to having either a standard retirement annuity or a Discovery Retirement Optimizer, Discovery encourage lump sum contributions into this platform. And we're currently running a special offer that gives you the opportunity of getting up to 20% boost on your retirement lump sum contributions if and when it is invested within a certain structure on the Discovery platform. An extra 20% boost is sizable at retirement age. This boost grows and as per your underlying investment or an alternative strategy, depending on your choice at take-up point. So if I have a 1,000 Rand contribution, for example, to my retirement savings, and I know that my 27.5% could mean that I could be contributing up to 300,000 Rand into my retirement plan, we could do a lump sum payment before the end of February in order for us to maximize our tax deduction, get it invested in the markets so that the funds can grow for our ultimate retirement. Fees, performance, benefits, understanding all of those, unpacking what it's going to be costing you to invest and what you can expect at the end of the retirement age is going to be very, very important. And that is one of the benefits of working with Candid 2020 will unpack for you. It's so sad working with clients who have been savings to a retirement plan for the last 40, 50 years of their life, only for them to realize that the premium contribution started at 50 Rand and it never increased with inflation. The funds were not performing. They were in platforms potentially that had exorbitant fees. And as a result, their expected retirement savings is nowhere near enough for them to actually buy perhaps even a loaf of bread at the end of the month. So it is critical that you understand and review this on an annual basis. In essence, what are we saying? Know your numbers, know what your tax deductibility is, maximize that, have a platform, a solution in place that is workable for you, that you understand, and then make sure that you make use of the boosts and the benefits that are available to you at this time of the year. In my opinion, an ad hoc into one of your investments is probably the best gift you can give your future self. Not only are you giving the cash flow up today, it's going to be invested and have the potential to be growing. This last year's performance in the markets have been incredible. Double digits, 15, 17%, depending on which fund selection you had. Now that, on an ongoing basis, sure, we can't guarantee that's going to be the return in the next couple of years. We don't know what the markets will do. But each year that we do have good growths of that nature are certainly going to hold you in good stead when you do get to retirement further down the line. Again, in summary, maximize tax deduction, know your platform, do ad hocs and lump sums when the opportunity allows, and that is now. Tax-free investments were introduced, I don't know, I think possibly about 10, 12 years ago. And it was an opportunity for taxpayers to be able to invest in the markets or in interest-bearing accounts a certain amount on an annual basis. 36,000 Rand is the current limit on an annual basis with a lifetime allowance of 500,000 Rand. And the growth within that investment is then going to be tax-free. When we look at some of the numbers, that tax-free component can be enormous over a 20, 30-year period. So we'd argue that every taxpayer, they don't even need to be over the age of 18, in fact. Anybody with an ID number has the opportunity to open a tax-free savings account, contribute a maximum of 36,000 Rand a year. Please don't lose sight of that maximum. If you can only afford to contribute 10,000 Rand, make use of this allowance this year. Next year, you can contribute more if you choose to. Minimum, no issue. Maximum, 36 per year. I was frustrated at the beginning of the tax-free investments launch to realize and see how many people would use a potential bank account as a tax-free savings. Now, given the nature of this investment, that it's going to be long-term in nature, as a result of us having that 500,000 lifetime allowance, anytime we draw out of that investment, we are removing from our 500,000 Rand allowance. So what that means is that this should be your last opportunity to touch and withdraw funds from this investment. If you have to, you can. But I'd argue that it should not be a place where you would be saving to potentially access in the short term. So if we are investing for the long term, I'd argue that we can't afford to be putting it into an income fund or a bank product that's going to be returning interest of what, 3, maybe 5, maybe 7% interest, when inflation potentially is going to be stripping out any potential growth there. It is extremely important that it's an aggressive investment that is going to give you the opportunity to grow within the market. And as it being long-term in nature, we have the opportunity to ride any potential volatility that may come in the market. So please, if you don't have a tax-free investment, today is the day to open one. Open it with a financial institution. Make sure that the fees are going to be low and economical, and make sure that the investment strategy is as aggressive as possible and that the fund is performing well. Your future self again will thank you for this tax-free investment. Set one up for your children, for your grandchildren. Make sure that the base and the foundation of any financial plan is in place with a tax-free investment. One of the tools or tricks or tips that you could be using at this tax season that often gets overlooked is the 100,000 tax donation that you may make to an individual without attracting donations tax. If I give any investment or asset of a certain value to anybody other than my spouse, it would trigger donations tax. However, SARS allows for 100,000 donation to be made available per taxpayer in a tax year. Speak to your accountant if you have surplus funds that you would like to share with any of your family members. This is an ideal opportunity to make use of that. I have clients who say they would like to make a donation to their child or their children, but they don't necessarily want to transfer the cash right now. So what they do is they set up an investment, an endowment, and in that child's name, and they then make a contribution either on a lump sum basis or on a monthly amount to allow them to make use of the 100,000. So what do I mean by that? I may have a client who is wanting to make use of their 100,000, and they could therefore contribute 8,333 Rand a month into an endowment policy. And at the end of the year, that would be their 100,000 Rand donation that would then be exempt from any donations tax. A really great time for high net worth individuals to look to use this opportunity to distribute wealth to family members without incurring any income tax. So please, with this season being open now, we'd strongly recommend that you look at one of those 3 scenarios: retirement savings, tax-free investments, and making use of your donations tax. We spend many hours with clients planning their retirement, and we are saddened to see how many people delay it and don't have sufficient funds in order for them to be able to sustain their lifestyles. It is extremely sad to see people needing to downscale because of affordability. We encourage our clients to make the sacrifices today so that their future self can benefit. There is a happy medium and a balance between how much you spend today versus how much you save. When you're doing it consciously and you realize which side of the scale you're on, you cannot blame yourself further down the line if you're spending the money now. If you don't know, that's a whole different argument and discussion point. So we hope through this discussion that you've had the opportunity to realize the importance of investing. After all, Einstein did name it the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest. And I promise you, the summary that I use constantly, those who understand it, compound interest, earn it, and those who don't understand it, pay it in the form of debt. Thank you for your time. I trust and I hope that this complex situation, discussion, topic of tax season has been explained in some form. And our call to action right now is for you to reach out. Candid 2020 on Instagram, social media, give us a call, go follow us on our website, but make the appointment to get to know your numbers, understand the benefits, and we look forward to working with you and celebrating your future self in the years to come. Thanks for your time. Have a great tax season end, and we look forward to sharing our expertise and our knowledge with you, empowering you to appreciate the wealth that you deserve.